You have another case, Petra versus United Airlines, a woman fighting cancer stranded. What happened here?
Oh, this is an out of control story. This Petra is a lawyer and a fitness influencer. She has over 100,000 followers, and she does yoga and all this other stuff. And she's actually a product a person, and the one she was doing now is for health and actually for cancer. She was fighting cancer. She was in Cabo San Lucas, and she wants to fly back to New York or Newark, New Jersey, to go to New York to go to Sloan Kettering, and she was not able to fly on the flight because the flight attendant said that she smelled an odor.
Mm-hmm.
And so they for some reason they use that as a pretext to say you can't be on the
Well, the
flight.
odor of marijuana, or what kind of
No,
odor?
it was like a perfume odor. They didn't like how she smelled. Put it that way.
Okay.
They didn't like how this woman smelled. Now she's
Mm-hmm.
a cancer patient. I don't know what the whole medical thing is. You might be using that to cover up a foul odor. If you have cancer, or you may have a foul odor yourself. Can these people in these airlines say just because you smell a little bit bad and you have an underlying medical condition that can explain it, that you can
Mm-hmm.
get off the plane? Now the
Right.
issue is that the captain is no longer in charge of the plane. There's no incident report here, and they tried to get it up to the captain. The captain doesn't decide. It's these basic bitches that are in the flight attendants that get to decide who gets to stay on the plane or not under the new union contract with United. So you
Right.
can go on that plane, and some woman doesn't like the way you look or the way
Mm-hmm.
you smell, they can throw you off the plane. Now, when they threw her off the plane, she ended up in a Mexican hospital in Cabo San Lucas with sepsis.
Mm-hmm.
$50,000 worth of medical. She was supposed to be in Sloan Kettering the next day for cancer treatment. She ends up with sepsis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because some basic bitch thinks, I don't like the way she looks, I don't like the way she smells. No understanding of a medical condition. No understanding of what's going on. This is a scary, scary story. I don't know what we're going to do. I reached out to the United Airlines people for the media relations to see if there's anything there. I know that Petra has lawyered up. Frank Parlato's covered this. That's where I got this from. Frank Parlato says that he believes that a 35-year retired U.S. attorney who's now in private practice may be taking the case. Okay, so United might have a big problem on their hands very, very shortly for their activities. And it goes back to this crazy union contract. How can you have a ship or an airplane where the captain is not the captain of the ship? When
Right.
some crazy flight attendant, for whatever reason, can decide what the hell is going to happen to people. And medical as well. Medical as well. There's two people on a ship that are the most important people. There's the captain and the ship's doctor. We know this from Star Trek, right? Captain
Mm-hmm.
Kirk and Bones. They're the two are there, and they have Mr. Spock. So if we get a Vulcan, he'd be the third most important one. So because he would know everything. But we don't have that most of the time. So instead of going with the smartest person, the captain, you go with some crazy bitch, some basic bitch flight attendant. It's a very, very sad story. It really is.
You ever had any airline horror story happen to you?
Well, yeah, I've had many, but I don't know.
Horror
What
story
kind of
or
story
just
would you like to hear?
well, horror story. Not like your flight was delayed by an hour. A
Oh
horror
no,
story
one where I caused the problem or when I was the victim?
where you're the victim. Have you had a problem with an airline? Like maybe
I've
not
had
on this
problems with
level.
airlines before, yeah, with just crazy stuff, just stupid. The
I
rules are
I
so
I
stupid.
I really haven't. I'm not saying it's been perfect. I've never lost my luggage. There's been delays, but not. I've never experienced anything like this on any of my flights.
What airline do you usually fly? We're all different
I
ones. Or?
I use I would use like Orbitz or one of those, and I picked the cheapest. So I've flown most of them. I've never experienced this, but I'm not saying that other people haven't. But I've heard these stories. It's never happened to me. Um, I will just repeat. It's the safest way of flying. When there's an accident, that's huge news. When there's a car accident, nobody talks about it. But they're not perfect. I don't know how badly she smelled because you have a concern for other passengers as well. So I don't know exactly how to respond because it depends on what you mean by odor.
It's
If
a
it's
it's a
perfume,
fact
it's
it's a
nothing. But
fact-based inquiry though at that point, right? And so you're making the finder of fact, right? And you have to weigh that against potential medical conditions and mitigating factors. So somebody's there with a colonoscopy bag, and there's the risk that the colonoscopy could open up, and they're very, very sick, and they need to get to someplace for a medical treatment. I think you would understand. You would try to mitigate it as much as you can. You want that person on that plane to try to get there to save their life
right,
or
right.
to not do harm. Suppose to somebody that is with an odor that they could have controlled. That's their choice. Now, I don't know if she's masking, the thing with her odor. Because you have cancer situations, and sometimes I don't know the full medical. But then again, do you want this flight attendant being the one to decide, being the
Right.
decider,
Well,
or do you
that's
want the captain? I think I
so
want the captain every time, 100 times
right.
out of 100. I want the captain to be my decider. I can care less about a union contract, and I can care less about some stewardess
And
thinking that she's,
you're you're telling me that the reason the flight attendant was in a position to decide is because of the union contract.
yes, the union contract is the reason.
All right. All right. And that is all for this week's episode. Next week, we'll be back on Wednesday, and we'll find out what happened to Rich at court.